for the Chiefs, they're almost identical. I mean, around 560 yards, 6 touchdowns in the regular season, some big special teams returns. But McCole Hardman got there on literally less than half as many targets as Tyreek did in his first year. And I think it's similar. They kind of kept him on the back burner because, like, we have all these other guys. Like, we're going to use you on some gadget stuff. And I just think, like, you mentioned when we've talked a lot about, like, Hill, Kelsey, Sammy Watkins, there's so many other those kind of guys. And I think Hardman is a guy with 4.2 speed that can sneak through, especially in his own defense. And I would not be surprised at all if he makes some big plays in this game. And on defense, really kind of a guy who's not been talked about in the national media a ton, but like Chiefs fans have been talking about a lot these last few weeks, is Terrell Suggs, a guy they brought in late in the season because they had the 2 DNs on that side both went down.
Trust me, I know Suggs. We played him twice already this year. This will be the 3rd time. You guys picked him up from Arizona.
Exactly. Yeah, and so, I mean, he's not obviously, the guy he was back at his heights in Baltimore, but he can set that edge. And, we have Frank Clark reliably setting the edge on the other side, giving you some pass rush. Suggs, I mean, he doesn't have to do a ton. If they can just keep that zone, that outside zone from getting too stretched out and getting to the point where there's big gaping holes and those fast running backs have a lot of big lanes to choose from, I think he's going to be a huge factor in that. He also is like basically the only guy on this team that's ever been to a Super Bowl before. He's been there before. He's weirdly, I mean, he's been this wily veteran who stepped in at kind of just the right time for this relatively young team. I could see him, really being a factor in this game at this stage. And so that brings us to prediction time, Charlie. I mean, I imagine you're going to pick your own team here, but how do you think this game plays out, and what do you think the final score is?
Well, again, I got an early flurry of points from KC, and I think they're gonna pull ahead. It's gonna look bad at first. Maybe it's 17-0, something like that, which will not be the first time all season the Niners have been down by 17 points. They've been down many times by that number, and then Niners going to come back at a close. KC in the fourth quarter is going to get up multiple scores, and that's when the Jimmy G magic will happen. But it's going to be started off with some Jimmy G interception or some kind of issue. But what people don't know and what the national media do not know, Jimmy G after a turnover or on 3rd downs is the best quarterback in the league. And so you could say maybe don't turn it over, but I think Jimmy goes for stop points sometimes. I don't know. But that's my prediction. Niners 38, Chiefs 36, a barn burner of a game, and it will not be decided by an Andy Reid clock management. I've decided that will not happen. But maybe some offsides by a certain defensive end that used to play for the Seahawks, that now plays for the Chiefs, that like to call my boy D Ford out after the AFC Championship game. Oh, wouldn't that be some crow if he had to eat that? Oh, man, that's a big old bowl of crow. What say you?
Yeah, man. I'm. It's one of the things I love about Frank Clark is that we haven't had a guy in a long time who's willing to put some bulletin board material out there and then back it up. Because I don't know, the Chiefs they haven't been a talking team for a long time, and he's brought some energy. I think we were really lacking. And I feel bad for D Ford. I don't think there's that many Chiefs fans that are legitimately angry at him, but it was just such a bizarre way to lose that game. Not even just an offside where he jumped or something. It was just he lined up in the wrong place, and apparently normally refs would kind of tell him hey,
yeah. And did you look if you watch that video, he points over to the ref, and the ref gives him the signal it's okay. Yeah, that did happen, but he was definitely 1.5 yards past the line of scrimmage.
Right. And I genuinely feel bad for the guy because I don't know, it probably doesn't get played as much, outside of Chiefs Kingdom, but in our circles, there's this piece of video that NFL Films picked up right after that where, all of this stuff happens and the Chiefs could have sealed the game, but it didn't because of this penalty. And he's on the sideline kind of talking to his coach and things he's like, they said I was lined up offsides. Was I? And he realizes that, what, the momentousness of what this just was, and I mean, it's tragic, man. And I have no ill will towards D. but I kind of like that our new guy is willing to throw some stuff out there. It would be cruel, truly cruel if things play out though the way that you laid them out there though. I actually think I think the game goes kind of a little bit similar, but almost in reverse. I mean, I think this is going to be a back and forth game. These may be the two best coached teams on offense in the league, and close to the two best coached teams on defense. You know, from the coordinator on down. I mean, I just think they're both going to whip up some stuff that's going to lead to some big plays both ways. And I also just think, like, I was looking at the 49ers schedule and was trying to figure out, like, what is the comp? Like, what is the closest team to the Chiefs that the Niners have played? And that is, I think, the Saints. I mean, with an elite quarterback,
or the Rams
coach. Potentially, yeah, but I'm not that much of a Goff believer, and I think McVay hasn't gotten over
just in the way of system.
Some of the stuff hasn't been figured out. But yeah, I mean, but either way, I mean, I think it's going to be an insane shootout. That there's going to be some big swings. I think both of these teams experience, you know, kind of maybe 2-score leads at different times, but it's really going to come down to the end. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, the team that then kind of breaks it out late, you know, holds on to that 2-score lead, and it's not because it was an unclose game. It was just that's kind of the way the flow went. So let's see. I guess my official score prediction is going to be Chiefs 45, Niners 36. You know, Lombardi comes back to KC for, you know, the first, maybe last time in 50 years, but it's going to be ours.
Well, either way, it was fun BSing about the Super Bowl with you. Best of luck to your team, and go Niners.
Yeah. I wish you health and defeat.
All right.
All right, as I like to do, ladies and gentlemen, I'll peel back the curtain and let you know Nick and Charly actually spoke for a lot longer than what you just heard. I mean, I don't understand. When I ask for 10 minutes, I get 20. I said, you know what? It's the Super Bowl. You guys can go for like 15 minutes, and you send me a file that's 34 minutes long. I mean, did you really think I was going to just throw it in there without editing?
I mean, I figured you would, you know, cut out a few uhs and a few sighs, but given that it was a full half hour of sheer brilliance, I figured you would just sit back astounded and let it ride.
Well, now Neil, James, and I will add our half hour of brilliance to whatever it is that you just said. And we shall start by letting you know that including the postseason, 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo and Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes have a combined career winning percentage of .794. That is the highest combined winning percentage among opposing starting Super Bowl quarterbacks with a minimum of 25 starts. Garoppolo 23-5, Patrick Mahomes is 27-8. With a win, the 49ers would record their 6th Super Bowl victory, which would tie my New England Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers for most Super Bowl titles by one franchise. The Niners would also become the second club in NFL history to win a Super Bowl after finishing the previous season with 4 or fewer wins, joining the 99 Rams. San Francisco would win the Super Bowl for the first time in 25 years at the same stadium. On January 29, 1995, the Niners concluded the NFL's 75th season with a 49-26 victory over the San Diego Chargers, the then San Diego Chargers, in Miami. Head coach Kyle Shanahan and his father Mike Shanahan would become the first father and son head coaches to win Super Bowls. San Francisco would improve to 6-1 in Super Bowls and undefeated in Miami Super Bowls. For the Chiefs, if they win, it's nearly 50 years to the date of their last Super Bowl appearance, January 11th, 1970, in Super Bowl IV. The Chiefs would have their first world championship in 5 decades. Head coach Andy Reid would win his first Super Bowl. Reid would have 222 career wins, including the postseason. Only 5 coaches in the history of the league have more victories, including the postseason. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes will become the second youngest quarterback ever to win a Super Bowl. Big Ben Roethlisberger is the youngest, having won Super Bowl extra large. 49ers lead the all-time series between these two teams at 7-6. The Chiefs have won the past 3 of 4. The last time these two teams played was back in September of 2018. The Chiefs won 38-27. The Chiefs scored all 38 points in the first half, and Jimmy G had 3 fumbles in that game. Did you and Charlie happen to mention that game in your preview?
I don't think so. Not much, anyway.
The points for and points against are very similar for both teams. San Francisco finished the season averaging 29.9 points per game, Kansas City 28.2, and San Francisco allowed 19.4 points per game. Kansas City allowed 28.2. Also, the turnover differential, the takeaway to giveaway ratio, +4 for the 49ers, +8 for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, James, you guys did a great job on the Prop Bets preview podcast, which you can still get anywhere great podcasts are heard.
Except for one thing.
What's that, Neil?
Oh, no, I'm just preempting what you're going to say.
Oh, how dare you.
Premonition.
You guys mentioned that the kickers
That's
had
wrong,
missed
man.
an extra point, and however, Robbie Gould was only 41 of 42 this season, so he did miss one, and Harrison Butt Kicker, I'm sure Nick likes to call him that too, missed 3, 45 of 48.
Okay.
So
Okay.
not a bad prop bet.
Kickers in the league. Yeah.
Yeah. Not a
Well,
bad prop bet.
I did win some money, and actually I had it as over under 1.5 mistakes by James during that podcast. So good news for me.
Kansas City has scored 30-plus points in all 4 postseason starts by Patrick Mahomes. That is tied for the second longest streak in NFL history. Mahomes has 13 touchdowns, 11 passing, 2 rushing, and no picks for a 115 rating in those 4 games. Most touchdown passes in a player's first 4 postseason games in NFL history, and highest career postseason rating since 1950 with a minimum of 100 attempts. I do keep hearing that apparently the Chiefs haven't faced a defense like the 49ers, and that's sort of correct, but they did play a New England Patriots team, which was on pace for being the greatest defense of all time. Back in Week 14, you did win that game 23-16, although similar to the last time I mentioned about the Niners-Chiefs matchup in 2018, it does appear that you guys scored all of your points essentially in the first half and were shut out in the second half. Now, the strength of the Patriots is in their secondary. The strength of the Niners is their defensive line. So what do you have to say to that, Mr. Nick?
Well, I would say that actually, I mean, from a schematic perspective.
Hold on a second. Hold on, Nick. Now, well, 10 minutes ago, Jay, you said now it was going to be time for me and James and you to talk about this game. Why are we getting him on again?
I'm asking him about the Patriots, how the Patriots were able to shut out the Chiefs in the second half.
I don't want to shatter any dreams here, but the listeners have heard enough of Nick for this podcast, I tell you. It's like 30 minutes already.
Well, I think it's not even so much about similarity. I think Bill Belichick has just schemed, or at least has just coached his way into putting the Chiefs and confusing them and doing various things for one half of 3 different games with adjustments and things like that. I mean, I guess there was more second half adjustments in that particular game, and it was first half game plans that the Chiefs figured out halfway through in the previous 2 meetings. But, you know, I don't think schematically there's a lot of similarity between the 49ers and the Patriots. Where there is one is with I wanted to call them San Diego again, but the LA Chargers. Robert Saleh is a Gus Bradley disciple. Gus Bradley is now the DC in LA, and they run basically the same cover 3 scheme, and they actually have some similar pieces. You know, each have a Bosa brother, each have good corners, good safeties, and kind of run the same thing. And it's interesting looking ahead to sort of how this game is going to go. Obviously, the Chiefs won both the games against the Chargers, but they were close. And really what the Chargers tried to do is take away the deep ball, sell out to do that, make the Chiefs, do long drives, even if it's passing, make it short and intermediate, and drive down the field. So it'd be interesting to see if the 49ers try something similar. But
Nick, you've made for somebody so experienced, you've made an absolute rookie mistake there. You've turned the Super Bowl show into the Patriots today.
I was merely mentioning the fact that everyone's talking about the great 49er defense that they're facing, and they haven't faced a great defense this year. And in fact, they did face a great defense. They beat it. to their credit.
Mm.
To break down a little bit more of that, Warren Sharp, a friend of the podcast, has put out a phenomenal research packet on a whole bunch of great stats